building a better Bay Area, moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC 7 News.
Hi there, I'm Kristen Z. You're watching Getting Answers live on ABC 7, Hulu Live, and wherever you stream. We ask experts your questions every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. Today we have San Francisco Mayor London Breed, who will be talking about the latest on the city's vaccination efforts and how the mandate for city employees is going. Also, students from a Bay Area school are lacing up their shoes to honor a civil rights legend. We're talking about Ruby Bridges' Walk to School Day. But first, the pandemic has changed a lot of things about our workplace. The way we work, the places we work, health and safety at work, and what we want out of work. Thanks to a partnership between ABC 7 and Sequoia, a people investment company that helps businesses design programs that support employees, we have a new extensive look at the new transformed workplace. Joining us now to talk about some of these key findings, including a few surprises, is Netta Conyers-Haynes, Sequoia's Vice President of Communications. Thanks for joining us, Netta.
Thank you for having me, Kristen.
Absolutely. There's so much to dive into here. It's just fascinating. Because of your work with hundreds of companies, you were able to drill down on how companies have changed to meet their employees where they're at right now. Tell us about your new workplace employer survey.
Yeah, since the pandemic began, we've been studying how companies have been approaching the new workplace. And as you mentioned, the workplace has changed. People are working everywhere. The way we work has completely shifted. And in this report, we surveyed 400 companies, and our respondents are tech companies based mostly in California. And we focused on 3 areas. One being returning to the workplace. What does that look like? It has shifted quite a bit since the past 18 months since we've been in the pandemic. The second area we looked at was employers' COVID-19 vaccination policies. And thirdly, how companies are taking care of their people and allowing their employees to relocate.
All right, yeah, this is a very extensive survey, and my colleague, ABC 7 News reporter Stephanie Sierra, will be reporting on the findings on the 6 p.m. news beginning tonight for the next 3 nights. But I want to ask you about the perception that's out there that many people and companies are leaving the Bay Area or California for other states. Is that reality?
Well, according to our insights, while employers are allowing their people to relocate, only about less than 10% of companies have reported that people have actually relocated. So if people are leaving in droves, that's not quite what our report is showing us at this point.
Interesting. We've also done some reporting on Silicon Valley companies that allow employees that option, right, to move. But if the area has a lower cost of living, they may pay you less. Is that actually the norm, or would that be an exception?
Well, according to the report, we are seeing that more companies are allowing their people to relocate. We asked a similar question almost a year ago, and very few companies were open to relocating, for employees to relocate. That has shifted. And what we're also seeing is that the majority of companies responded that they are not adjusting salaries. So it really varies from company to company.
Oh, okay. Look, this I'm personally fascinated by because it seems like every day my commute home gets longer. So based on traffic, it seems like everyone is back. But in your survey, isn't it only a small percentage of workers that have actually come back to the office?
Yes, one thing that we've noticed is that 75% of the companies do not require their people back in the office. And of the people who are back in the office, it is less than 10%. So not a lot of people returning just yet.
Okay. Are you also seeing a lot of flexibility in terms of how many days workers are physically in the office if they do come back?
Yes, and of the people who are back, it seems like 2 to 3 days per week is when people are coming into the office, but there's still a lot of flexibility. It's not required by most employers, and so people are returning for different reasons. Maybe they don't have a great setup at home and they would rather be in the office, but it looks like right now 2 to 3 days a week.
Wow. I mean, that is certainly something the pandemic has brought on that we couldn't have imagined 2 years ago. Okay. In here, you also looked at how companies have adopted or adapted their COVID policies. Are they, for the most part, ready and willing to implement the Biden administration's requirement for companies to ensure full vaccination amongst employees?
Yeah, I would say yes. Our data shows that 57% of companies are now requiring the vaccine for a number of different reasons. But we asked this question in February, and only 7% of the companies said that they were planning to require the COVID-19 vaccine. So there's a big uptick, and I think companies are ready to abide by the new legislation.
Okay, so they're ready and they want to, but do they actually have a plan in place?
Yeah, I believe so. We asked companies too, do they have a safety plan in place? And the majority of companies do have a safety plan in place. So you can bring people back to the office, you can require vaccination, but how do you make sure they are safe once they're there? And it seems like a lot of companies have been paying attention to the different ordinances and are ready to make sure that they have a safe and healthy workplace for their people.
What about this? How are companies dealing with those who don't want to vaccinate? Are they firing them? Are they allowing them to work remotely?
Yeah, well, there's two categories. There are those who are not vaccinated for approved reasons. And what we're finding is that companies are allowing them to work remotely for a longer period of time, but it's still undecided for those people who are not vaccinated for unapproved reasons, what companies will do. The majority of companies are undecided, and there are less than 15% who say they are willing to move to termination.
Okay. That's often the last resort, right? When it's, especially when it's a
Right.
tight labor market or you have employees that you like, whose work you like. Okay. What about the third area that you really focused on in this study? What about wellness and perks? Have companies implemented new strategies to keep their workers happy, provide mental health resources or childcare or other types of support?
Yes, absolutely. Since the pandemic began, we've seen companies really boost their well-being offers to their employees. In fact, 86% of our respondents said that they have implemented new well-being strategies or they plan to this year. And those strategies, they range from mental health resources to better support their people, team engagement activities. A lot of people are isolated, working at home by themselves and may feel disconnected. So team engagement activities was pretty high, as well as increased communication about benefits and perks. Often companies offer a lot of great benefits for their people, but they don't know what those benefits are, so they're communicating more about it.
Okay. Look, it sounds like there's a lot of flexibility being shown here. Taken all together, does it suggest that there is a shift in either the power dynamics or the priorities of companies or workers?
Yeah, it's I think companies are paying more attention to the needs of their people, right? And we're in a new workplace, a new environment. How we work, where we work, it all has shifted, and the employees their needs have shifted as well. A lot of people are working from home while also caring for children or caring for family members. So I think employers are paying attention to that. They're paying attention to the needs of their people, and they're delivering better employee experiences when they can.
All right, Netta Conyers-Haynes, Sequoia's Vice President of Communications. Thank you so much for sharing some of these results of the new Workplace Employer Survey. And of course, as I mentioned, our colleague, ABC7 News reporter Stephanie Sierra, has really gone deep on this, and she's got reports coming up today, tomorrow, and the next day, tonight at 6 o'clock. You can find the entire survey results now posted on our website, abc7news.com. So please do watch our reports, and of course, go to our website for the entire report. Lots of interesting stuff. All right, coming up next, Mayor London Breed is joining us to talk about a number of San Francisco initiatives and the latest on the city's vaccination efforts. We're taking a short break on the air, but the conversation continues on Facebook Live and YouTube right now. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoy that conversation. Please stand by for San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Be back in a minute. We were just talking about the return to the workplace, employers' various COVID policies. Now, San Francisco is a major employer. And today, Mayor London Breed joins us to share her city's practices, how vaccination efforts are going, and a host of other new initiatives. Mayor Breed, great to see you.
Great to see you.
All right, before we get to all that, I just want to start by getting your reaction to longtime Bay Area Congresswoman Jackie Spear's retirement announcement today.
Well, as you know, Jackie Spear is an icon. The work that she's done her entire career has been extraordinary. We know of the challenges that she's had to face. And I saw her in the news this morning talking about dedicating her life to public service after, sadly, she was shot along with Congressman Leo Ryan, who we all remember Jonestown and what happened there and how she survived and persevered and has just been a tremendous advocate for women, for gun violence, for so many things, and just has been a Bay Area jewel. It is, you know, time, she says, to move on, but I know she's still going to be very active in various capacities in terms of giving back. She's been an extraordinary public servant.
Yeah, no doubt. We're just waiting to see what that second act will be, but no doubt it will be in public service. Mayor Breed, we are doing an in-depth look all this week at employers' COVID policies. How is San Francisco ensuring compliance with your vaccine mandate for your employees? Because that deadline has come and gone. So we need to know how many have been fired. Are you working with them? And how much time are you giving people?
Well, we've given people a lot of time and a lot of resources, and out of the almost 35,000 employees that we have for the city and county of San Francisco, we're now at less than 700 who are not vaccinated. So I want to say to the over 98% of the city employees who are fully vaccinated, thank you so much. Thank you for doing your part to keep your coworkers, your families, and the public safe. And we are currently working through a process which is required for those who have asked for waivers and who have made specific requests to not get the vaccine for various reasons. And look, everyone has their own reasons. We want to give each hearing its just due, but ultimately we have an obligation to public safety. If there are reasonable accommodations, we will do our very best, but it is going to be very difficult. But we're doing well. When you look at other cities, they don't even come close to San Francisco in terms of having their workforce as vaccinated as ours is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very high vaccination rate. But it does seem you have a muni operator shortage right now due to those who haven't gotten the shot.
We do, and I spent some time yesterday talking to some of the muni operators and folks who help us run the system and thanking them for their service and thanking them for getting vaccinated. Part of what we're doing is asking them to do overtime so that we can not only keep service going, but bring back some of the lines that we've had to cut. But ultimately, we have to think about them. We have to think about everyone who works for MTA as well as the public. And unfortunately, we will not be able to deviate from the requirement we have, but we will also speed up the process to get more muni drivers hired. I was at a graduation last week, so we got more people on the streets, and we'll keep working at it.
All right. Well, this being San Francisco, it's actually been hard getting vaccine appointments, right, between boosters and children being eligible and Thanksgiving coming up. What is the city doing to help? Are you opening up vaccine sites?
Well, we have vaccine sites all over the city in various communities, especially in communities disproportionately are impacted by a lack of insurance. Anyone can go, of course, to their healthcare providers to get vaccinated, but our various locations, including Maxine Hall in the Western Addition, at 2401 2401 Key Street in the Bayview, San Francisco General. No questions asked. The Mission, we're doing vaccines. So no questions asked. We'll provide vaccines to anyone who asks, even if you're asking for a booster. But ultimately, we want people to go to their providers, and we're doing everything we can to make it as convenient as possible. These locations have provided support throughout this pandemic, and they're very familiar to many members of the community.
Okay. Your public health department first said that children 5 to 11 will eventually, possibly in a couple of months, have to show proof of vaccination for indoor activities like adults have to now. Are you still standing firm on that? Because some are pointing out the Pfizer vaccine hasn't gotten full FDA approval for that age group yet, right? Only emergency use.
Well, I work very closely with our Department of Public Health, and it has everything to do with looking at the data and making sound decisions. What we're currently seeing is an increase in hospitalizations in San Francisco. We expected it. It's winter, the flu season, but we also knew that after Halloween, just like last year, we'd see a number of the cases go up. And so part of what we know is important, the vaccine is a defense to prevent people from, hopefully going into the hospital. That's a big deal for us. We don't want anyone to die because of COVID, especially in light of having a vaccine. But I'm not certain if we're going to get to that point. And until we do, I think ultimately we want to look at the data, make sound decisions, and not overburden the public with a lot of requirements unless they're absolutely necessary.
Okay. Mayor, I want to shift gears a little bit here. You recently weighed in on the recall against 3 San Francisco school board members, Allison Collins, Gabriela Lopez, and Fauga Maliga. You support the recall. Most of the supervisors do. And look, these are the only 3 who can be recalled at this moment in time. But do you think the entire board has been focusing on the wrong things these past 2 years for the students?
Well, I've been very vocal about, my concern of, the decisions that have been made at the school board level. Oftentimes, we get a lot of financial requests from the school board, the school district in general, which, of course, as a result of wanting to serve and support our children in the city, it's not even a question. We can't hesitate. We have to support them. But when I think about many of the decisions that they made in light of the fact that the schools weren't open, there were kids who didn't have computers, and we had to, the city had to put up these learning hubs, and we couldn't even use locations in the school district, even with what we were trying to do. It just was really frustrating and honestly criminal. Our kids have suffered. We all have suffered, but I think that, at a time like this during a pandemic is when you need strong leadership. You need people to step up and do the right thing for the people they serve. And unfortunately, we saw time and time again a number of decisions that were important decisions and discussions to have. But the fact that the decision and the conversations around reopening continue to be at the back burner were very problematic. And our kids have suffered because of it.
Mayor Breed, you just unveiled the SF Live initiative to support the city's music venues. I know you're excited about it, so tell us about that commitment.
Yes, we're bringing back live music in San Francisco, not just inside venues, but what we've done clearly throughout this pandemic is we value being outdoors more than ever to prevent the spread of COVID. And as a result, we want to take full advantage of our public spaces, our plazas, our parks, and just imagine walking up to Civic Center and seeing a band perform, seeing people dance, seeing people and places come alive because of music and because of a number of artists who have the ability to put a smile on our faces. And so this $2.5 million that we received from the state, thanks to our current city attorney, David Chu, when he served as assembly member, will be used to provide the resources to set up a lot of these places outdoors because, it costs money to set up stages and to set up sound and to use electricity. So there are a number of logistics that go with it and a number of costs associated with that. And plus, we need to pay our artists. I think that's really important as well. So you'll be walking around town and all of a sudden you'll hear some great music and you may want to stop and hang out for a little bit. We're going to see the city come alive. It's an important part of our economic recovery, and I can't wait.
And music soothes the soul, that's for sure. I know you got to go, but I know you're going to want to address this, so I'm going to give you 20 seconds to talk about how folks who are in San Francisco in town for Thanksgiving, or maybe folks coming into San Francisco to visit relatives, how they can best celebrate.
Well, I would say to best celebrate, make sure everyone is vaccinated. Make sure that for especially those who are not, that you do maybe a test, a rapid COVID test, that you wash your hands and you wear a mask when you can, when you're hanging out with each other. Turkey Day, which is happening at Kezar, will be the 2 top high schools in San Francisco playing football as a great outdoor activity for families. I'll be there. There are other things going on around the city. There's going to be, I'm sure, the car shows and all the other events and activities downtown at Union Square, shopping, ice skating ring is up. So I think ultimately try to do as many outdoor activities as you can when you come together as a family, and make sure you do the most important thing. appreciate and enjoy your family and friends during Thanksgiving holiday.
All right. Mayor London Breed of San Francisco, great ideas. Always good talking with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, highlighting the bravery of a civil rights icon, Ruby Bridges was only 6 years old when she made history, becoming the first African-American student to integrate into a white school. Now, students in South San Francisco are walking in her honor. More on that story after we take a short break on the air. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Mayor Breed, who gave us some great ideas on how to celebrate Thanksgiving in San Francisco. We got another great story for you coming up, so we'll be right back in a minute. Tomorrow, students at a South San Francisco elementary school will lace up their walking shoes to honor a legendary civil rights activist. They will mark the first ever Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. Ruby Bridges made history in 1960 when she became the first African-American student to integrate an all-white elementary school in the South. The walk was made possible thanks to State Senator Josh Becker and fifth grade teacher Martin Elementary School teacher Deborah Carlino. Deborah and Senator Becker, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, got to start with the teacher. Deborah, your class spearheaded this walk and seems very, very excited. Tell us about Ruby Bridges and why honor her in this way.
Ruby Bridges inspires us because she was a little girl who integrated into the segregated South, one of the first children to go to school with white children. And the children are just so inspired by her because of all that she did for all of us.
And this was their idea?
It was their idea. We were reading about Ruby Bridges, and one of the students asked if there was a Ruby Bridges Day. And when they found out that there wasn't, they got really fired up and wanted to do something about it. And this has been 4 years of the children working really hard with the help of a lot of adults, AAA, Safe Routes to School, Senator Becker. We're just so appreciative to them all.
In fact, one of those adults, State Senator Becker, is sitting here right here with us. And you introduced a resolution in the State Senate for Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. It was passed unanimously, so congratulations. Tell us about your inspiration and why you really wanted to make this resolution happen.
What I love about Ruby is her courage and her bravery, and her story shows that the power of one act, of one person, that you can truly make a difference. And that's evidenced by this day we now have, the Walk to School Day, and by this celebration we'll have tomorrow. And the fact that she inspired kids across the country 60 years later. I mean, what could be more powerful? And if I could just say for a moment, with Deborah Carlino and her students were just blew me away. So impressive. Their commitment to this, to never give up, and to take bold action is just, they really show tremendous leadership. I'm just really grateful to them for bringing this forward to me and to all of us.
All right. Well, would you be so kind, Deborah, as to share the details of the walk tomorrow? Where are you starting? Where are you ending up? Is the public invited? Are other schools joining in? And while you answer that question, I just want to throw up that picture, that meme that kind of reawakened Ruby Bridges in people when Vice President Kamala Harris, you see this image of her kind of like, it's like the evolution and where the African-American woman is now standing strong, being the vice president, taking her place. And, you know, this became so iconic and I think inspires so many people. But go ahead and tell us about the walk.
So in South San Francisco, due to COVID precautions, we're going to be walking from different areas. The high school and middle school students are going to be starting at Orange Park to walk to their respective schools. And for Martin Elementary, we're going to start at Linden in California, where it all first started, and we'll walk to school together with our wonderful Senator Becker, to whom we are very, very appreciative. And yes, if the public can join us. And we just want to thank you so much for putting this out there and sharing this news. We appreciate you as well, Channel 7.
Oh, thank you so much. And Senator Becker, I know you're excited to walk. Before we let you go, I do want to ask you, going to another female icon now, Peninsula Congresswoman Jackie Speer announced she's not running for re-election next year. Some have mentioned you as a possible candidate to run for that seat. Is that something you're considering?
Listen, I think today is really about honoring Congresswoman Speer and her tremendous, tremendous service to our region and to our country, both at the local level and the state level.
Senator Becker, sorry, we'll have to take this conversation and the answer over onto our streaming platforms, Facebook Live. Be right back. All right. I'm so sorry about that. It's just the timing of it all. But yes, sure. You were saying today is about really honoring all her service and all that she has done.
Yeah, really about honor. I mean, she is a superhero to me. I mean, her life story is just so inspiring. And again, her service that she did, all she accomplished at the state level and then at the federal level, you know, I think today is really about honoring her.
She has certainly done so much in terms of advancing women's rights. And, you know, and I could see one of those Ruby Bridges like images of her too, right? We need to find another iconic little girl who's fought for women's rights and to kind of, you know, juxtapose that. But that is fantastic. So tomorrow, how is it just your class or did you say the school? And I know you said the public is welcome to join, right, Deborah?
Yes, and the entire school is going to be joining us, and we're just really excited and appreciative to you for putting this news out about Ruby. This is just an opportunity for children to realize that they have power to affect change in the world and that together we can make a huge difference. And the kids can inspire adults as well. You're
not kidding. I mean, Senator Becker, do you feel like kids and adults could use a dose of courage like the kind that was shown by Ruby?
Absolutely. I'm really grateful to the children, the fifth graders, for bringing this forward. And they show, and Ruby's story shows, that you're never too young or too old to treat everyone with dignity and respect. And that's really the beauty of this story, I think, to me, is these fifth graders united around this story, and they united around treating people with dignity and respect. And I think that's what our country needs more of, to unite around treating everyone with dignity and respect.
And today she is a mother of 4 living in New Orleans, right?
Yes. Yes, she is.
I mean, what does she say about this? Did she say anything about this walk?
Well, she is so excited, and she's just looking forward to children having a conversation in classrooms tomorrow and looking at what they can do to make a positive difference.
Well, Deborah, we'll have to leave it there. And Senator Becker, thank you both. Good luck. Thank you so much for joining us on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We talked about a KGO-Sequoia study about how the pandemic has changed the workplace, San Francisco's push to get everyone vaccinated, and that Ruby Bridges walk tomorrow in the Bay Area. See ya.